Looks like I'm going to get a haircut here today. Happy New Year, everybody. It's good to see you all, and I've always wondered what you look like. Today's topic is finding your strength in difficult times. Is there anyone here who's having difficult times? But can I just see the hands and hold them up there, please? All right, everybody, see? No, wait, everybody turn around and walk. Keep the hands up, please. Anyone having difficult times? All right, hands down. Can I see the hands of those who did not put their hands up? What are you, crazy? Do you know what your problem is? You see, the problem is, did you see how people's hands went up? You know? Everyone is afraid to admit that things aren't going well when they're not going well. Isn't that right? The way you fix things when they're not going well is to begin by saying, things aren't going well. How do you pay attention to the squeaky wheel unless you hear it squeaking? And here are people looking around to see who is saying, I'm not having an easy time in my life. We all walk around with blinders on, thinking we're the only ones in it. And do you know why we do that? We do it because there's something about the way in which we were all brought up that makes us believe that if things aren't going well, we must be bad. Or if things aren't going well, we must be punished. Or if things aren't going well, we deserve it. Isn't that right? And the answer is, of course, it's true. It is true. You did something wrong. And it got worse because you didn't admit you did something wrong. You get into a lousy relationship and something happened at the wedding ceremony. You're not exactly sure what it was, but it was the way he treated his mother, or she spoke to her father, who put on the affair and said, well, I told you should have had more expensive flowers. And you suddenly realize you're in for it. And when things start going wrong, what happens is you pretend that what you know would go wrong isn't going wrong, so you don't feel bad about what's going wrong really taking place, because you don't want to be validated for your bad expectation in the beginning when it's the truth all along. And when you get rid of the person, you say, well, finally I realized the thing that you realized the first moment you met the person. The truth is, you know everything about the other person the first moment you meet them, because everybody has their past history in their life right up there in front of you. You know this. I mean, you absolutely know this. You'll meet someone and there's something about them you don't like. And then a half hour later, you realize you were mistaken. The difference between the first impression actually talking and the half hour is called politics and salesmanship. Now, I'm not saying that if you're not crazy in the head, you're going to have the same opinion about everybody. Crazy people do have the same opinion about everybody. Crazy people think everybody's out to get them, everyone's out to cheat them, everyone's out to do them wrong. But the truth is, you know about crazy people. If everyone were out to get you, they would have gotten you by now, right? I mean, you have to think about this. But crazy people don't put that together. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, let's make the assumption, and it's a long reach for this morning, I know, I'm in the valley, that you're not crazy, okay? Is there anyone who was insulted by that? You really? Too bad. I'm sure you're going to get over something. The point is that if you're not crazy, and if you are crazy, by the way, can we get a definition of crazy? A long time between the hurt and the expression of the anger. Got that? Does everyone have that? I'm going to give it to you again. A long time between the hurt and the expression of the anger. That's crazy. I remember my second year of psychiatric training, I went to an institution. They sent us all away. And at this institution, there was a man standing outside the door. And he would mutter the most amazing streak of obscenities, and they were all adjectives followed by the word psychiatrist. Psychiatrist, psychiatrist. good morning, doctor, good morning. And you go in, and I said, who's that? He said, oh, he used to be an orderly here. And then we caught him assisting some patients in some crazy behavior in the back wards. He was all over the walls, you know. And since that time, someone said, Frank's crazy, we should put him in here. Well, he already was in there, but he was going home nights. So instead, a lot of people are like that, you'll find. So listen, this is my bread and butter, you know? And Frank never forgave the doctor who committed him. And that was 20 years ago. And he was as angry that morning, 20 years later, as he was the day he'd been committed. So a long time between the original hurt and the expression of anger is crazy. You all know people who are crazy. It happened 5 years ago. You meet them at a party, they're still mad at you. That's a crazy person. Because crazy, well, definition of neurotic, so we can help you all out, all right? We're all neurotic, okay? This is what neurotic means. It means some part of the past, some part of your life interferes with the clarity with which you perceive the world or the freedom with which you act. Right? So to some degree, we're all bound by something neurotic. Doesn't mean that it's all bad. We don't throw our 22-year-old kid out in the street because he deserves to be thrown out in the street because you were thrown out in the street. Okay, so you have some sensitivity to it. But it's neurotic. Both of you have to get over it for the kid to grow up. Everybody there? If you're not there, it's okay. We'll get you there. The problem is that since we're all living in some part of the past, until we understand what distorts our view, we're unable to deal in the present as free agents and to solve our problems freely. If we think that admitting we're having business difficulties means that we're failures or that we're not good people because we were told that we wouldn't succeed by someone when we were a child, then that opinion of ourselves is the thing that holds us back. Do any of you have any really wealthy friends? I mean, someone who's worth $10, $15, $20 million. And you go shopping with them, they have no problem whatsoever with saying, oh, that's too expensive. Right? And they say it very, very quickly. Oh, I'm not going to pay that for that. Where if you can barely make it, you say, how much is that? $1,500. I'll take it. Everyone see I took it? Did you see? But very rich people don't have that compunction because that's not their neurosis. Do you understand what I'm saying? This proves exactly what I'm talking about. Being poor is a neurosis because it makes you feel like you can't appear poor. You know, there's always that joke it's a New Yorker cartoon. The elevator door opens and 4 gentlemen come out, 3 are dressed in brilliant suits and all this, and they follow them down the hall. One goes into the clerk's office, another one goes into assistant's office, and the real schlumper goes into the president's office because he's running the company. He doesn't have anything to prove. When you have something to prove, you are always at a disadvantage because the thing you have to prove is probably the thing that got you into trouble that you're in right now. You couldn't be vulnerable, so you didn't admit you were hurting. You were proud. You had to show that you couldn't make a mistake, so the mistake you made killed you. Your weakness and your strength live together in you. And unless you're aware of your weakness that interferes with your exercise of your strength is not your strength. It's only something that's going to get you in trouble. My strength, ladies and gentlemen, I'm an honest person. Would anyone disagree with that? I don't have a strong enough opposite. No one? I'm an honest person, isn't that right? Honesty, he cuts right through, sees with the laser insight, knows what's going on in your mind, like the shadow, all that stuff, right? My weakness is that I am a bullshitter. I admit it. I am the first one to admit it. As a matter of fact, I know it so well. And I have seen it in operation nearly destroy me in my life growing up that I am the first one to be looking for it, because that's my weakness. That glib tongue, that ability to mellifluously seduce an audience with such grace and ease is poison to me. Because my heart is true, but when I let that mind operate and try, you want to know how bright I was in school? I mean, you know what I'm saying? All of those things are my enemy, and I know they still live in me. I ain't going to let them out, but I'm not going to deny that they're there, because I cannot cage the animal I don't know exists. And most of us go through life having great difficulty because we refuse to admit that there's a weakness. Come on, your lives are in trouble like everybody else's. Why do you think they got in trouble? Because you were right all the time? Think about that. Because you made the right decisions? Because you were smart? Because you figured things out? Because you acted after great consideration? Or did you get in trouble because you thought things were a certain way? Or you trusted someone to be good to you? Or you thought someone was telling you the truth? When it was the truth you wanted to hear and knew that it was not going to happen. Do you believe those clearinghouse things that have told you you are on the list to win $10 million? Do you believe their ads are real when they go, oh, and everyone is dressed, you know? America doesn't look like that in the morning, you know? Take 6. Oh, look at this, Marsha. I'm going to faint. This is America. We understand that things aren't that way, but in our own lives, we want to believe things. For example, did you know that your odds of winning the California lottery are just about the same if you buy a ticket or you don't? They don't tell you to figure life out in that simple way. What I want you to understand is that your weaknesses and strengths are vital for you to recognize, because your strength and your weakness determine the shape of the world you live in. The world is just out there. It's not good. It's not bad. You go on a scavenger hunt into the world every day, seeking out the things you need. What do you need? Sometimes you need to prove that someone's wrong. Sometimes you need to prove that his mother is the worst person in the world. Sometimes you need to prove that your kid is smarter. And any time you need to prove something, you destroy the clarity of your perception of the world, because you are on a prejudiced scavenger hunt. And you are sorting for a particular item. And you are creating a list to prove your point. People who know they are right don't try to prove anything. They just live. People who don't know they're right are trying to prove to other people that they were right, and therefore corrections and reparations should be made for the injuries that were done before. Let's start out. All the injuries that were done to you pretty much in your life had a lot to do with your neediness to expose yourself to the danger. You wouldn't have been with a person like that if you had your smarts on. What was wrong with me should be the first statement you make after you get hurt. What was wrong with me? That person is never going to change. No one changes. The best we do in life is that we learn to come more from our strength, from our better side. That's what we mean when a person changes. So when someone hurts you, if you go, there's the culprit, notify the LA Times, call the stations, get the police, this is the bad person, and you're still within target range, what do you do when you put the finger at yourself? This is the moron? Well, that's what you are when you do that. You refuse to admit that the people who can hurt you hurt you. What you need to do is stop making life personal. Make it ordinary. Someone hurts you, get out of the way, thank you very much. This person hurts me. Don't say, but this person shouldn't hurt me. This person is my child. This person is my mother. This person is my boss. Just accept reality for what it is. Don't fight it. Do you know what the purpose of psychotherapy is? The purpose of psychotherapy is to make life ordinary. You ever think about that? When a life is not ordinary, typical explanation, you lose someone you dearly love, right? And that person drove, just for example, a red car. You're at the mall, and behind you, 2 cars back, is a red car. You look up in the rearview mirror of your car, and for a moment your heart goes, what? The hope that the reality that has transpired didn't take place. Are we all there? Is that crazy? No. But it's not normal. It's just a red car. But you're having problems at the moment in giving up a person you love. So the notion of a red car being the chances that maybe all that bad news, the obituary column, the funeral you attended, the week's memorial, and then cleaning out the closets, maybe that didn't really take place because you see a red car. There's a red... My cousin Jeannie, who was one of my closest relatives that I ever had, you know, in a family of people who didn't know how to look up at the sun, he was my cousin Jeannie who had a convertible. When I was a kid, he played in a dance band, and when I came out to California, Jeannie became like the closest relative I ever had. He was just great. And guy in his 60s, and one day he was walking with a limp, and he says, David, I don't know what's wrong with me. And we got him into Cedars, and he was gone in 3 months with a brain tumor. But I would drop off to see him at lunch, and we would have lunches. I mean, this guy was fabulous. My car still goes past his, I have no reason to go by his establishment. He had a huge appliance business. My car drives by it. I don't understand it. Why is that? I mean, I'm trying to go from here to here. I don't need to take that shortcut. It's actually 4 blocks longer. Why does the car go by his place? I don't even remember making the turn. That's extraordinary. I miss Jeannie. Does anyone doubt that? Because my car is just one of those automatic things that we drive. When they put it on automatic, you know, they really did put it on automatic. There's an automatic that goes on there that you can never have. I mean, have you ever had problems in a car? You know, emotional problems in your driving? Do you know what I'm talking about? Yes? Okay, audience, we have a problem. I know you're stunned by the clarity and wisdom so that you're like trout in a bowl, but I need more feedback because I'm a recovered insecure person, okay? Have you ever seen one of those movie scenes where the judge says, has the foreman of the jury, have you reached a verdict? And the foreman says, we have, Your Honor. And the judge says, and what is the verdict? And the foreman says, guilty of murder in the 1st degree. You know what the courtroom people in the courtroom do? They turn to each other and they say, walla, 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 as if they were carrying on regular conversation to imitate conversation. So would you just turn to each other and just say, walla, walla, like you have a conversation? Well, everybody, you too. Doesn't that sound like conversation? All right, now, you don't need to be brilliant anymore. I just took it all off your shoulder. So when I say something that sounds terrific, or you really get it, walla, walla, right? Right? No, walla, walla. You're slow learners, but we will get there together. Life is supposed to be ordinary, people. Ordinary. It is the unresolved hurt in your life that makes life extraordinary, because you're reminded of the unmourned part of your life whenever you see something that brings it forward. And it can be the saddest things in the world that do that. I called up a friend of ours. I just had this feeling. It was 12:30. I was writing. This was 2 nights ago. 12:30 at night, in the morning, I guess that is. And I said, Karen, something's wrong. I hadn't spoken to her in 2 days, and I called her up at 12:30 in the morning. I said, you're not okay, are you? And she's crying at the other end of the phone. I said, oh, what's wrong? She said, I don't know. It happened the other night. We went to see the movies. I don't remember what we saw. And she's breaking up with her boyfriend because he can't commit. And he's going on a 3-month hideaway to Maui to find his soul, which means he ain't never coming back to that relationship, sucker. When they tell you stuff like that, I need to find myself. I need some space. You know. When someone says I need space, it means I'm getting the hell out of this relationship. Just enough space so you can see my dust, the road runner. Men like to leave, by the way. It's a thing about us. We like the road.
especially when you're not on it with us. We don't want to talk about our feelings. It's scary. Oh, God. So I called up Karen. I said, what's the matter, baby? And she said, David, you won't believe what happened. She said, you and Catherine, we all had cappuccino at Kate Mantellini's. That's a place on the other side of the mountain. I give tours of Los Angeles for you people. If you'd like to come over sometime, it's a big city. It's cooler in the summer. I really like the valley. You know, I'm not doing this to you because it's prejudicial. So I said, what happened? He said, well, after we had cappuccino, you walked me back to the car because it was 1:30 in the morning. And the boyfriend, without even saying good night, got in his car and drove off. His explanation was, I'm not feeling good. Well, he hasn't been feeling good since 1946. But he left, and we walked back to the car, kissed her, and we drove off. I said, well, what's the whole thing? She said, well, when you drove off, I could see through your rear window, that you and Catherine's heads were together, and Catherine, for no reason, reached over and gave you a kiss. And you were going home together to be in the same bed, and I was alone. There was nothing extraordinary about that view through my rear window. But I remember when my first marriage was, I believe the correct psychiatric term is, in the toilet. Oh. It's hard. I remember once walking along the Charles River embankment alone, trying to figure out where I was in my life, saying all those things that you say to yourself. You're young, you're good looking, you've got a certain amount of intelligence, you can do it, and those children, maybe someone could love you someday, it would work out. And then I look up and I saw, I don't know, he's about 21 years old, this guy, and with sideburns, and he doesn't look like anything, right? I'm better looking than him in a minute, right? And he probably doesn't have my education or my brilliance, and he's with someone who looks like a leftover. They're neither attractive people, but they're adoring each other. And there I am trying to find something to hold on to. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, God, everybody has love except me. That's a distortion. I don't know what their relationship was, this couple. They could have been abusive. He could have paid for the interchange. How do I know? But my heart was making that an extraordinary event. The problem is that when we live in our foxhole, you know, you live in a foxhole. Everybody lives in a foxhole, right? You think you have contact with other people. You do not have contact with other people. You approximate contact with other people. You give your pregnant sentence to them. They give their pregnant sentence to you. They haven't heard your pregnant sentence, and you haven't heard their pregnant sentence. You've heard 2 or 3 words in it, which now click into your memory bank. You download your whole trip to them, and then you go off, and both of you have misinterpreted each other and think you're in agreement when you're not in agreement or disagreement. You're just downloading in the world. Everybody there? And then you say, gee, Walla Walla, God bless you, God bless you. But the real killer is you sit down at night with your spouse and you say, you know, I just had the best conversation today with so-and-so, and it was much better than I have with you. We don't know what we're saying half the time. Do you understand what I'm saying? The reason we don't know what we're saying is because we spend so much of our lives hiding the truth from ourselves. We don't want to know what happened. How many of you have had the following circumstance happen? And if you don't, if everybody's had it. So I'm just say me too. Say me too before. Thank you. Then I don't need to tell you. You're talking to somebody. The person is a person of, how shall we say, importance in your life. Someone you depend on for something like approval. That could be your mother. Forget it. She's not giving it this month. Did she give it last month? So this month, why should it be different? She's getting older, she's going to die soon, therefore you owe her more blind obedience, so you're not getting the approval. Your father, has he paid attention? So why would he pay attention? Because he's living with you-know-who, right? I shut it out, that's how I deal with the world. Don't change my life, it works for me. Or the boss, forget that, that's already too tough. So you're with this other person, and in the middle of the conversation, the person says something to you that hurts. Conversation ends. You go someplace. You're sitting down. You're having a vegetarian sandwich, so it shouldn't be too much cholesterol. And you're taking a bite, and you say, "Did that person hurt my feelings? Why did they say that? And what is this lag phase? I'm now 2.5 hours after the time where that comment was made, and my feelings are hurt." Anyone been in this situation? Do you know there's no name for it? Do you know it's the most important psychological entity that there is? There is nothing more important than that lag phase, because that's where craziness develops. It's the time between the hurt and the expression of the anger. And so much of the time you're sitting, wait a minute. Did he say that? He said that. Why did he say that? And so finally you have sorted it out in your head, right? You know how that goes. She said that her car was much neater than my car because I always was a slob. That's what she said. And she threw it off like that. I didn't pay attention to it. I mean, because my car is slobby. I mean, do you want a back issue of the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal? They're right here. I go back 3 years right in this car. They're not in order, but I can find every one of them. So there's truth in it, right? It's the truth you can't admit, the thing that you're suppressing. So when you were insulted by it, you couldn't admit that, oh, I am the world's biggest slob in the world, but you don't admit that to yourself, and the person made that hurt. There's nothing that hurts more than a truth that cuts through you and makes you see a pain or a reality about yourself you didn't want to see but had to see. So a lot of the hurt that you're getting is stuff that you don't want to admit, and that's what keeps you from expressing, hey, what are you doing? Hey, making fun of me like that. I got friends in New Jersey. You know what I mean? But we're afraid to stand up for ourselves, because the truth is we are slobs. We do bad bookkeeping emotionally. We have no unsettled accounts. We're in emotional debt. We have unpaid feelings to the past. Everybody admit that. We're all there. Everybody? Walla Walla? Thank you so much. I'll have you trained by the time we get out of here. So that lag phase is killing you. That's what's killing you. And that's what you have to learn to deal with. Because the dealing with pressure in difficult times is dealing with what your failure to deal with this lag phase has created. If you had no lag phase, if you could simply react as the pain occurred, you'd be okay. Definition of mental health: telling the person who hurt you that they hurt you when they hurt you. Is that too simple for you? God, I hope so. Maybe you'll even remember it. Telling the person who hurt you that they hurt you when they hurt you. Because if you did that, you wouldn't be in trouble. Why? Because of the following. The name we give to pain depends upon when the pain occurs. Are you with me? This actually requires attention, so stop.
The tape of today, you can buy it. And it also helped my kids in college, which is very interesting because I don't have any kids in college. But if you buy it, I'll adopt a kid and send him to college. It's not that funny, lady. The name we give to pain depends upon when the pain occurs. There are two kinds of feelings, painful and pleasurable. If pleasure gives you pain, it's not pleasure. Let's decide on that right now. It's pain. Pain in the future is pain that hasn't happened. Therefore, we call it anxiety. Okay? Don't make a big deal of this. Anxiety is worrying a little about whether or not the kid is safe, to being in terror now that you hear someone in the house and you know that you're all in the same room and you can hear the person rifling through drawers. Got it? It's all the same thing. It's pain that has not happened. Fear, terror, worry. Don't give it a fancy name. Just call it anxiety. It all means the same thing. You've got to be able to think about feelings. The one thing that I've been concerned with my entire life is making feelings comprehensible, because feelings have a purpose. Everything about you has a purpose. And if you understand the purpose of your feelings, you can use them to live your life and guide you through. It's when you're afraid to admit that you're in trouble that you have difficulty. It's when you're afraid to admit your feelings that you get into the most jam. Because it's at that time you suppress the only signals that you get that you can trust. People are going to tell you things, but if you feel bad about it, you better pay attention to your feelings. Someone's going to offer you a terrific sale of a great piece of property, and something feels wrong about it, and all the paperwork is great. Don't buy it. Got it? Until you feel right about it, don't buy it. That's all you have. That feeling of anxiety is the sum total of your intellectual, sensory inputs that operate in a way like dreaming. They completely supersede and take over, and they're more accurate than anything else. Maybe the reason you're afraid to buy the property is that you have a competition neurosis with your parent and are afraid of owning a more expensive piece of property and trouncing on your parent. Well, that's fine, but find that out first. Because if you didn't know that and bought the property, the chances are you'd lose the property to punish yourself for that neurosis. But I'm saying if you're having a bad feeling about something, don't do it. Okay? You're not going to listen to that. You're just not going to listen to it. I'm just throwing words out. If you have a bad feeling about something, don't do it. That's the only thing you get. You don't get any more than that. Someone comes to you and says, look at this business deal. It's going to be great. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And they're going to give us this. Why should anyone give you a great deal? Ever think about that in today's world? Why should anyone do anything for you? If you get a bad feeling and a doubt, resolve it. And if you're not permitted to ask the questions to resolve the doubt, you're about to be screwed. Got it? Because that's how it... Because if you're made to look like a fool if you ask the question, if anyone could understand it but you, hey, it's your money, guy. If you have the bad feeling, don't get haughty about it. Just say, is that so? Explain that to me. I don't understand. Remember a rich person? Gee, I can't afford that. Gee, I can't afford that, you say. It's no crime not to be able to afford it. It's a crime to say, gee, I can afford that. One of my friends is actually worth $600 million. Honest to God. I mean, 75-foot yacht with a crew of 4. We have great times together. He picks up all the tabs. I mean, once I was in Marigot in St. Martin's in a wine store buying wine for his wine cellar on his boat. And he turned to me. From 11 years old, I know this guy says, great, no? I said, it's amazing. He says, yeah. He says, is this really me? I said, no. But he has the ability to say he cannot afford it. He once said something very interesting to me. He said, you know, when you're rich, really rich, you can afford anything, but you still can't afford everything. So you have to choose exactly what you want and be sure you love what you want, because you can get a lot of junk that you don't ever look at just because you want to own it. And then you don't know what to do with it, so you end up throwing it away, and then you feel bad because you're wasting the good money. And you know, you never outgrow your childhood attitude towards money. What $10 was worth to you when as a kid is the way you feel about it now. $10, well, I don't know. And your own kids are saying, nah, it's only $10, put it down. It's not that way. Pain in the future is anxiety. Pay attention to it. It will always mean the same thing. It means you're in danger, everybody. Sorry, it can be a small danger. It can be a big danger, but you're in danger. It's a red flag. Pay attention to it. Pain in the future is anxiety. Anxiety is a good feeling. It is a good feeling. You know when it becomes a bad feeling? When you refuse to feel it, because then you push it underground. Now you're in debt. You have anxiety over this that you won't look at. Gee, maybe the business could fail. You have anxiety over that you won't look at. Gee, is that chest pain, heart disease? No. Is that kid failing in school? Is the neighborhood deteriorating? No, I won't look at it. Now all of a sudden, all this anxiety is willing to be expressed, and then one thing triggers it, and then you go to someone and you say, I'm having panic disorder. What? You're just not facing reality in your life. Now they're going to give you a pill that makes you, oh, I feel better now. The anxiety is still there. The house is about to be graffitiized or whatever we need. And your kid's still doing terrible, and the old man's going to croak on you any moment, but you're feeling better. You have anxiety to do something about it. It's your squeaking wheel. Hello? Hello? Wake up. You in the back? Pain in the present is hurt. It hurts now. Ouch. Ooh. What hurts? You can see what hurts. That is what the present is about. The agent that caused the injury and the injury are both in evidence. Ow! Who put that on the sink? That's a hot pot. We don't take it off there with it and leave it on. Jeez! Gee, I'm sorry. You don't need to sit down and have a court case. Someone took a hot pot and put it on the cutting block without telling you that's a hot block. So you're going to watch. How do they know? Because they see the pain. When a person sees you in pain, they are perfectly willing to listen to you scream because they know. Have you noticed that? When you complain about something 3 weeks ago, everyone's bored with you. Would you shut up already? You're bothering me. You're hurting me. But I'm sorry. It's okay. I just hope you feel better. I didn't mean to step on the I knew you had the operation. I'll do anything. I'll do anything. Right? Aren't we all like that? Right? Walla Walla? Come on. I need feedback. I'm trying to get through to you folks. Help you, you know? So that the purpose of pain is to limit the extent of the injury. Ouch, that hurts. My hand is here, not on the pot. Ouch, that hurts. It has a purpose. You are physiologically wired to survive. And what you have learned by your socialization and the inhibitions that your parenting and your life experiences taught you is to inhibit your wiring so that you suppress your normal response and therefore end up hurt a lot. I would like you to be a little more your animal selves, your creature selves. There's nothing wrong with being spontaneous. Oh, that stinks. When it's the truth, other people have to react to the truth. They can say it's you, but they have to react to the truth. Pain in the past is anger. It can be murderous intention to homicide and to go down to your local Big Mac or whatever it is and kill everybody. I don't use brand names, you know, because they do it everywhere. Or it can just be being a little bit irritated that the bus is a tiny bit late. Does anyone here take buses? I knew it. Anger is an extraordinarily misunderstood feeling, and nobody misunderstands anger more than psychotherapists. The purpose of anger is to energize the hurt so that the avoidance of the pain in the moment can be made good. Is everybody with that? That is critical. That is the only purpose of anger, is to energize the expression of hurt so that the protection from the danger can be made good. Ouch, don't do that again, would you mind? Okay, we got the lesson loud and clear. You're standing on my foot, gee whiz. The other person hears the anger and immediately backs off, but seeing your hurt already realizes that they've done damage, so there's no need to do any more. Then you have things called crazy people. How dare you raise your voice at me? You hurt me. The person who is upset at you for raising your voice after you've hurt you is not your friend and should not be in your life. Unfortunately, a lot of controlling people are that way. And by the way, you have to always know who you're dealing with controlling people, because one thing a controlling person will tell you is whoever is at fault, it's not them. You shouldn't have had your foot there. Who puts a foot in the middle of the aisle? Right? And they're right. You're wrong. You're an idiot. And not only that, but they go for immediate confirmation. Did you see where he left a foot? Did you see where you saw where they left a foot? Did you see? Go ahead, you can talk. Yes, you saw where they left a foot? No, you saw. Everybody saw. You're dead. It was your foot. It was out there. He stepped on it. You were wrong. And of course, with controlling people, they never say they're sorry. What a controlling person will tell you is they will reiterate all of the reasons why they hurt you. Well, if you had paid attention, if you had sat around front, your foot is in danger there. If you had sat around front, if you'd realized that you're not the only person in the world, you don't sprawl out like that. Of course, you always sprawl out everywhere. You sprawl out in the television room, you sprawl out at dinner, you sprawl out you never learn to keep your feet together. I mean, all of a sudden, you're sitting there with blood dripping from the foot. It's a perfect time to tell you about your bad manners, poor posture, insecurities. I mean, you've got a pathological fracture of the foot. You're going to have to go into CETUS for 2 days to have it sawed up and put together, and you're still would you move your foot? It happened once. I mean, she's ready to do it. Someone's talked to her like that before, obviously. So what you get from a controlling person is not, I'm sorry, I hurt you, I didn't mean it, please excuse me. What you get from them is, I was right to do it, and not only that, if you do it again, I'll be obliged to do it. Since my reasoning is so perfect, if you do it again, I would obviously have to do it. So I'm going to hurt you forever. You got it? Anyone not get it? Walla walla, God bless you. Now, do we understand ourselves? Pain in the future is anxiety. You really understand that now. Pain in the present is hurt. Ouch, it hurts now, this moment. Pain in the past is anger. It hurt. How long ago did it hurt? Well, just now. The problem with anger, and this is the most problematic emotion there is that if you don't express the anger immediately as part of the hurt, it never gets expressed in a way that is satisfying. You want to talk about that? You can never express anger in a satisfying way. Here, the anger problem. Someone hurts you and you get angry. Okay, a day later you're going to call them up and be angry at them. Who wants to be an angry person? To get up and to be angry, so you say everything in your mental notes over the phone and you hang up. You feel better? 5 minutes later, you feel like shit. That's the word, and that's what you feel like. It's all right for me to use it. I'm a doctor lady. Did she buy it? Do you know why you feel bad about it? You feel bad about it because you ended up hurting someone else, and you're a good person, and you don't want to hurt someone else. You don't want to do that. Feelings are very tricky. To go back to a parent who hurt you 15 years ago, or 20 years ago, or 35 years ago, who's sitting there, you know, with something going in another vein, the air going in, and you know, and your father's talking to the resident about, should you pull the plug, should you? You don't go in there and say, you always were terrible to you. I mean, you know, they're going to cart you away and put you in the next bed when she goes. You can't do that. I mean, it's crazy time to go back at the Thanksgiving dinner and say, you know, Uncle Bob touched me when I was... Uncle Bob, by the way, was 3 years older than you, and no one knows exactly what happened, and Uncle Bob hasn't been right for years since he was hit in the head with a baseball. Remember that? He wasn't right before, but no one's going to believe it. So timing is of the essence, and the time to tell is now. Now. The time to express it is now. So whenever anger is expressed, the first thing I have to tell you folks, it's already too late, the wrong volume, and directed at the wrong person. Because when you hold anger in, to hold it in, you have to redirect it at yourself for a while. Because if it's going to go out, it wants to go out. If you're not going to express it in time, you have to turn it at you while you're holding it, getting ready. And when you're holding anger in, the direction of anger turned inward gets a different name. You ready? The name for inward turned anger is called guilt. Surprise. Everybody goes, is that right? I didn't know that. So the reason you're feeling guilt is because someone hurt you, but you were too cowardly to express your anger. Instead, you held the anger inside. Now the anger is saying things to you. What is the anger saying to you? It's saying, I'm not good for being an angry person. No one could love a person like me because I'm this angry. I'm bad. I was wrong. I started this. I don't deserve success or love. That's what anger turned against yourself says to you. As a matter of fact, that's all anger says to you. Those statements, I'm bad, I'm not good, I'm not worthy, I'm not loving, I'm not deserving. And that's what guilt is. It's the lack of belief, the undermining of belief by your anger and hatred that is turned against you. Why does that happen? Because your feelings, my friends, are expressed in your body. God, I'm scared. Let's get the hell out of here, right? Your body's, let's go. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Isn't that what happens? When you get angry, you get itsy. Do you know the word itsy? Itsy? Spilkies? Am I talking to the right people? Do you know where I'm coming from? Spilkies. Does anyone here not know what spilkies are? We know who you are now. I'm just playing with you, my friends. Spilkies is a Yiddish word. You have to understand the Jews were born to become the psychiatrists of the world. They stuck us in ghettos. They kept us together. We got on each other's nerves. Such a deal. We got so close to each other, we figured out not only why we did it, but who we did it and what we really want. We were born that way. We're walking around. We have more names in Yiddish for human behavior. What kind of shtick are you doing, right? Shtick means a little bit of what kind of an act are you doing? Yiddish is the language of neuroses. You think I'm kidding. It takes pages to express in any other language what one word in Yiddish does. If you read Freud in the original German, he uses a lot of Yiddish. Don't tell Ernest Jones. Oh, that was an academic joke. I'm sorry. I'm not permitted to make those. He was the translator of Freud. Anyhow, Freud used a lot of Yiddish words because they come from a society where people are on each other's nerves. Spilkies is the mind that walks out of the body and you're always trying to catch up with it. You know, it's like, let's get out of here before the accountant hits line 26. So, oh, God, they're going to find out that I put in the wrong income. I'll never get the loan. I'll never get the loan. You know what? You know why religious Jews are doing this all the time? They got spilkies and they don't even know it. When you hold in anger, you direct towards yourself an energy that should be used by your body. Instead of getting spilkies, which you should get when you're anxious, let's get the hell out of here, you go, a lot of things could go wrong. Let me see what can go wrong. You want to find out what can go wrong? Anyone want to find out? Think about your life for a second, everybody. I know you came here for escapism, but it doesn't work. Think about your life for a second, and I'm going to say, think about what could go wrong. You don't want to go there, right? 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 Because anything can, any moment. There is not a single person in this room who is not a telephone call away from total disaster. Isn't that the truth? One telephone call, and you all know what that damn telephone call is, too. And it's not a pleasant one. It could come from Florida. Real sad, right? Because you know what that's about. It could come from, the folks back there. It could come from your kid. It could come from the police. I knew that stuff would We're all one phone call from disaster. So if your mind is doing all this stuff, it rationalizes and thinks and goes through this sort of thing. Whereas if you really had guts, you'd say, wait a second. Are you taking your medications? Are you going to meetings? Are you going to see someone about that lump? Did they check out that chest pain? What is that funny stuff coming from your room? I can smell it. Are you smoking stuff? You're acting, your eyes are red. In other words, acting on the clues that you already know the answer. If you have to ask the question, you know the answer. So stop asking the question. Because what you are asking for is, tell me it isn't so. Stop asking those questions in your life. You waste time, and you're only setting the other person up to say no, because that's what they're going to tell you. And then you're going to attack them for, and you lied to me. No, they didn't lie to you. They never lied to you. You lied to you because you were going to go in there and say, I'm going to be told no, and I'm going to believe it. So you're the one who lied. So get off your high horse, because that's the only position you have. What we're really talking about is your cowardice and your failure to respond to your anxiety signals in life. That's why your life went bad, folks. You're not stupid. You're not uneducated. It's you didn't pay attention because you were afraid you would have to do something. Well, what would you have to do? Not important what you would have to do. It's what would the results of what you had to do. There are only a couple of results. One, someone could say, I don't care what you say, I don't love you or respect you. And you're afraid to hear that. But you already know that. You already know the answer. So what you have to do is you have to act honestly with the feeling that you get. Not keep it in your head. Hurt usually gets expressed in some way, but it gets suppressed. The problem is with anger. The problem is always with the way in which you deal with anger, because the anger that you hold in holds you. You only have a certain amount of energy. Understand this. This is not in any books, and this isn't in any lectures. This is just in your life. I'm going to confirm what you already know. You only have a certain amount of psychic energy. There's only a certain amount you can take of good or bad. And when you are holding in anger, your energy, a part of it, becomes diverted to keep the anger in check. And the energy that you use to keep the anger in check lowers the amount of energy you have for the rest of your life's work. Because you have a floor, or think of it as a ceiling, anything. But there's a place that you have cemented over. And that cementing is a cementing of energy. You've got to continuously pour energy. Oop, it's coming up. Step it down. Come up. Step it down. I mean, that's what you're doing. You're doing this dance under the surface, and you've got to pay attention to it, and so you're keeping things down. And you have less energy to embrace life. And when people talk about what that means, let me express it to you so you understand this clearly and can start thinking about emotions in a human way. The energy you take away from your life to hold feelings in place decreases the energy for the involvement of life. Are we there? Give me another word for decrease. Depress. Depress. Depression is the depression of available energy available for life. That's all it is. Every depressed person is angry. The more depressed they are, the less anger they show, because they have completely veneered it over. You know all you need to know about this, but let me just show what I mean. When you are pushing anger down, and you're holding it in place, and you're depressed, and you talk to people who are in that situation, this is what they say. Gee, I don't have much of a sex drive anymore. Surprise. Does that surprise you? Why not? Well, a sexual drive requires what? It requires finding a sexual object. It requires wanting the sexual object. It requires willingness to do the courting dance. I don't care whether you're married or not, you know, you just don't say, let's do it. You say, you have to get into it, right? Yeah, right? Or are you that much of a... You have to get into it, right? Sex is fun, right? Help me with this. I'm getting really disappointed in this group. Is it okay over here? You don't do it over here. You cross over the hill, you give it up. What is it? Can't be, right? Sex is fun, right? I heard one no. I had a roommate in college who would hear the one no and want to marry the person to convince them otherwise because he had a need to prove to the world that he could make it happy for everyone. That's a disease, by the way. Giving too much is half foolish. You know that. That's a Yiddish expression. I translated it for you, and I got it right under the whole thing. All right. The thing why this is so important is that as you use this energy to push the anger down, you have decreased energy in a neurological way. Something happens to neurological connections. Everyone talks about chemical imbalances as if they were the cause of this. They're not. They're the result of it. If you do psychotherapy on someone who has a so-called chemical imbalance, the chemical imbalance clears up. It does. It's not that you have a biological mechanism that's gone awry. You have a psychological mechanism of dealing with reality that's faulty, that causes you to do this. All right? I want you to get this, because this is the most important part of all this. So the important thing is to know that when you have decreased the amount of energy in your life by suppressing anger, there's less taste, because somehow or other you're blocking, and food doesn't taste as good. Any of you ever had hepatitis? Food tastes terrible. Any of you ever had depression? Food doesn't taste good. Because the relish that gives appetite and gustatory pleasure is a function of the energy you have to invest in it. Oh, it's the white asparagus season with truffles. Oh, I can hardly wait with the new Beaujolais. Ooh, that's joie de vivre. White truffles. Oh, I don't feel like it today. Do you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. So this is why it's so critical to understand where we're about to go, because we're about to go into a very deep place. The reason that you suppress the anger is that you have a lousy or disturbed or non-functioning way of dealing with the hurt that caused that anger. Because if mental health is dealing with the hurt by telling the person who hurt you that they hurt you when they hurt you, one of those three things is wrong. You're not telling the person you're complaining to a friend. You're telling the person not that they hurt you, but you're telling them about, gee, how I got killed in the stock market yesterday. Or you're not telling them at the right time. You're telling them too late, so then you're bombarding them with the anger. Let me tell you about anger that gets stored up. Anger gets stored up in a condition which has never been described anatomically, but what I call the condition emotional dead. It's a nice term. I like it. And it's because it's really descriptive. Anyone ever own a mercury thermometer? Anyone have kids, you shake it down, with the wrist thing. You can only use them up to age 65 because then the arthritis keeps you from doing it. You go, Maya, would you come in here and shake this down, right? There's something wrong with those stupid things. And then when you try to do it and you lose the grip, smash on the floor. And there you are with the 3x5 card on your knees, picking up all the mercury so the cat doesn't get it and drop dead, because you've heard of mercury poisoning, though you don't know how it works, but you don't want to be responsible, right? Are we all there? So there you are, and you get a little ball of mercury in the card, and you bump it into another little ball of mercury. Now you got a bigger ball of mercury, right? How does that happen? Surface tension, they can explain it in school. Boom, another one, another boom, 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 boom. And now you have this big ball of mercury. Now you get it in the card, and you try to get over to the wastebasket, but if you're smart, you brought the wastebasket over first, so you wouldn't have to, because it goes right off, and then you got to start all over again. And if you're on linoleum, it's all over the place. Don't walk in here, there's mercury. Anger is like mercury. You get a little piece of anger over a hurt that you experienced today, and instead of expressing it, you push it down. Okay, I'm a perfectly healthy guy. I can stifle it. Then a little other thing happens, and I push it down. So what has happened? It now joins forces with the other ones. After a while, there's a big ball of mercury in me. Everybody got that? And all of a sudden, it's too big to handle. It's a weight. I'm an angry person, and all it takes to get me going is anything that'll trigger a little anger. Give me one justifiable reason for expressing my anger, and I am cocked and primed and ready to go. Does anyone want to try me here? And that's the society you live in. People who are filled up with anger who don't know how to deal with it. When I said before that psychotherapists don't know how to deal with anger, I'm telling you the truth. Because the expression of anger only makes you sicker. If you take a depressed person and get them to express anger, do you know what you do? You cause them not to release, but you cause them to grab onto what remains of their defensive energy and push it back. And they become more depressed. Especially if you arm them to say, you go back and you tell your sister what you thought of her when she came home to your husband. And you do that, and she doesn't remember because she had 3 scotches in her that night, and it was 14 years ago, and what are you talking about? Because she already divorced her husband, now she's got someone she loves, she can't even think of ever having loved anyone else, and besides, you were mistaken. Because it was your husband who came on to her and lied about it. And she pushed him away. and now you're being confronted and with a truth you can't handle, and it all gets terrible. It gets terrible because now you're trammeled up again. Oh, maybe I was mistaken. Maybe he is this. Do we all there together? Okay. So that the expression of anger is always, always a delicate and dangerous thing. Not that you shouldn't recognize that you're angry, but to recognize anger as a feeling without dynamics is silly. In fact, downright stupid. You're angry because someone hurt you. So what you do is you must always justify the anger with hurt. This is the hurt. And when you tell someone that you're angry at them, you don't tell them that you're angry at them by expressing anger. You tell them that they hurt you. That's what you tell them. You hurt me when you did this. That's a problem. Because what you might find out is the other person denies it. Okay, you know where you are then. Or two, they can say, so what? The person who doesn't care whether they hurt you doesn't love you. And that's why you're afraid to express your hurt, and that's what gives you that lag time. You're afraid the person doesn't respect you, doesn't love you, doesn't think anything of you, and you're afraid to test that. Well, it just so happens that I have some techniques that I'm going to show you in the next hour. And those techniques are going to give you control over that lag phase. They're going to put you, for the first time in your life, in absolute control of the moment, so that you don't walk around like a person out of control, so that you don't walk around thinking someone is going to have something over you. I'm going to show you a way which will make you in charge of your life. You're not in charge of your whole life. You're only in charge of this moment. I'm going to show you how to be in charge of the moment. I'm going to show you how to deal with aggressive people. I'm going to show you something that will blow your mind away. It took me 25 years to develop, and it's so easy to understand that once you get it, you got it.